decided to get a couple of cameras for my house. I don't like the idea of cameras in my house, especially when I'm at home. So one of the guys I was talking to says he uses these little Wyze Cams. They're pretty cheap. This one was about $26 and this one was about $35 or so, I think. This one will rotate and stuff. So we'll do a quick unboxing of these and get it hooked up and see what this experience is like.
So the packaging itself is pretty standard. It's nice, mimicking Apple a little bit, as most of this type of stuff does these days, without, of course, the high dollar customization. It just uses standard USB power, which is awesome. I always appreciate it when I don't have some weird voltage wall wart that I have to add to my collection. Overall, these devices are pretty lightweight. It actually feels a little cheap out of the box. So in my initial impression wasn't super good, but they kind of surprised me. These are actually really nice little things. There's a lot of thought put into the design of them. The way this mount pops up, it's got a magnetic base to make it easy to mount. You can just use a screw to put that thing on the wall, or they send a little 3M adhesive to put it wherever you want. The Wyze Cam Pan Cam opens pretty much the same way. It's got a little bit less. It doesn't have the mounting base like the Wyze Cam 2 does. It uses a tripod mount. So basically I just ended up having this one sitting on top of a shelf, which is totally fine. The lens protector on this one, for whatever reason, was super stuck on here. I almost pulled the rubber grommet out of the that's around the lens. I almost pulled that thing out. So you can see here I had a heck of a time getting that off. The other camera has a similar rubber grommet, it had the similar lens protector on it. I had no problem, so it might just be a fluke with this one. Maybe it got hot somewhere. We'll see how long it lasts. For the price, I'm not super concerned about it. The one thing that I don't like is that outlet, what you plug the USB into. It sticks out from the wall very far. Here you can see I'm having trouble figuring out where to plug in the micro USB power. It's down in the base because this one rotates, so that cord stays stationary. And then you can daisy chain these things together. That's what that other USB cord is, which is pretty slick. I don't know that I'll ever have two of them close together enough to daisy chain them like that, but it's a nice thought. Here I'm just going on to the App Store, grabbing the Wyze app, and we'll go through a few setup steps. There's nothing super complicated here that you wouldn't expect. You have to create an account using your email address, choose a password. I was glad to see that they do have two-factor authentication. First using your email, and then they ask you to add a phone number later on. They are a little weird with when they send out an email code or a phone number code, so that actually wigged me out at one point. Security on these is definitely a concern of mine. It's security in two ways, right? Like, I can see my house when I'm away is a great type of security, but then the security of my data and what's happening to that while I'm at home is a bit of a concern for me. So
ready to connect.
Here they want to know my location. I feel like I should look into that. I don't know why they want to know my location. Maybe for daylight time standards, that kind of thing. Just a couple of setup codes. This I thought was pretty slick. So to connect the thing, you just show the camera this QR code.
QR code scanned.
And hooks things up that way. I struggled. My camera was actually connected to my GoPro Wi-Fi for a minute when I first started, and then I forgot my Wi-Fi password, but I got a lot of that out because that's on me. So here, once you're into the device, they ask you to name it. I have no idea where I'm going to put this thing at the moment, so I'm just going to call it Upstairs Cam. Why not? And then they go through some more onboarding. They give you 2 weeks of their cloud services that records things, which is kind of nice actually, and the pricing on that is really cheap.
They gamified my camera. Cool.
And then of course they want you to upgrade the firmware on the camera. Like I said, I am concerned about security on these devices, so I am going to make sure that I keep the firmware up to date. This took about 5 minutes per device, which was a little longer than I expected, but it is what it is. You got to do what you got to do. I used that time to get a little pizza snack here.
It's like you're eating cardboard. Okay.
And then once the update was done, I was in. You can see the camera there. Resolution's pretty good. Talk through them, so there it was just asking for access to my microphone.
What are you doing?
The Siri thing doesn't show up. That's just the screen recording feature on iOS. And then we'll add the other device, and I'll show you a little bit of the panning interface on that. The second setup went a whole lot smoother than the first because Wyze had my Wi-Fi password stored, of course. It took me a minute to find the setup switch here. But setup worked exactly the same. I knew exactly what to expect, and it did everything as expected, so that was really great.
QR code scanned. Please wait.
Overall, I think I give their setup process an A- here. I feel like they did have a lot of screens and onboarding that maybe, I don't know, I'm always wishy-washy about onboarding. This one, of course, needs an update too. But I did actually read a lot of the onboarding, so I can't ding them too hard. It's a pretty solid experience here. So now I've had the software updated. You can see this one goes through a little initialization setup. It must just be getting its bearings, I guess. And then once it gets its bearings, you can control it with this little keypad here. You can also go full screen and use swipes to control the camera. So this is pretty cool. I'm happy.